Hello, welcome to the True Crime Lounge. My name is Breezy, and this is season 2 of our podcast. I do have a YouTube channel you can go and check out as well. This is a pre-recorded episode because I am in school and I do work, so I'm trying to get as much as I can in. But this will be starting October 10th. These episodes will come out every Tuesday for the next 10 weeks. Um, Mostly around I'm gonna go for 6 o'clock. Okay, but just know October 10th episode will be out. This will be, you can find me on Spotify and YouTube. For any updates on my social media, you can check me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. My Twitter handle is at TCL underscore 23. Um, I also am excited because I didn't realize that it's been over a year since I started True Crime Lounge, which makes me really happy. Because I honestly, I started it back in June of last year, and I didn't realize it's been that long. A year really does fly by. But I have a merch shop you can go check out as well. And I'm excited for us to be taking a trip out west for us to go and visit the criminals of the Wild West. I am excited for this one because last season, we focused on cases that changed the law. And this season, I wanted to do something different. So we are focusing on the criminals of the Wild West. Um, we will talk about Butch Cassidy, Ed Place, and Jesse James as far as 10 as for in 7 other criminals of the Wild West. But I really wanted to start off with Butch Cassidy. For some reason, I felt like I should. Um, but yeah, let's take a little break, grab our drink of choice, and then we're gonna dive into the True Crime Lounge. Like most of you, I grew up watching westerns with my stepdad and my grandparents for some of them. But my stepdad was really into westerns, so he will watch like Bonanza, a lot of John Wayne movies. So so naturally I did take an interest in some of them, but a lot of them are based on actual people. It's something I love doing, especially if I love researching and everything, which is why I was excited for this season to call it Criminals of the Wild West. Um, but today we're going to be talking about Butch Cassidy, and you may know him as Robert Leroy Parker. But he's really best known as Butch Cassidy, and he was a train and bank robber who led the Wild Bunch gang outlaws who operated throughout Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. He was born April 13, 1886 in Beaver, Utah, and he was the first of 13 children of British immigrants Maximilian Parker and Anne Campbell Gillies. I wonder if he had the accent. Oh, I gotta see. It would be awesome to see if I could find. It would be awesome if there was some audio recording, but I know it's not. But that would be awesome. But anyway, the Parkers and Gillies family had converted to Mormon faith while living in England and Ireland before immigrating to the U.S. So, in 1879, the Parker family would move to a piece of property near Circleville, Utah, where they raised their farm where they farmed and raised their cattle. So Robert left home during his early teens and went on to work on a dairy farm where he formed a close relationship with a cowboy and known wrestler who called himself Mike Cassidy, an alias for John Tulliver, J.T. McClammy. Later, was worked on several ranches and was briefly employed by a butcher in the Rock Springs, Wyoming, where he acquired the nickname Butch. Later, he would borrow friend's last name and began to go by the name Butch Cassidy. So Butch would continue to work on the area ranches until he turned 18 in 1884. He then moved to Telluride, Colorado, telling his family that he would seek work in the town's silver mines. However, he didn't mention that he would be driving a herd of stolen horses down to Colorado. Um, so technically, he was half right. So but let's get back to the case, shall we? He then took a few honest jobs while continuing to wrestle horses. He would then meet Matt Warner, the race car owner, and Cassidy would soon immerse into the fair race scene, where he would face bank robberies that occurred June 24th, 1989. When he, Warner, and the McCarthy brothers, Tom and Bill, robbed the San Miguel Valley Bank in Telluride, Colorado, and they were still about approximately $21,000, and they were fleeing into the rough county, and they lost their trackers in the wilderness of Kenya's hidden valleys and high peaks, known as the Robbers' Roost. So, in 1890, they would share with Fisher of the loot stolen in Colorado. Cassidy purchased a ranch on the outskirts of Dubois. I want to say it's Dubois. I think the S is silent like Illinois, but I'm not sure, but I want to say it's Dubois, Wyoming, where he is known to have wrestled cattle and horses. The location across the state from the notorious hole in the wall and natural geographical formation of popular hideouts for the outlaw crew, including Cassidy's historian Sunrise, that the ranch was economically successful, but was a facade of for the Klansman activities. So, in early 1894, he became involved romantically with an outlaw and rancher, Ann Bassett. Bassett's father, rancher Bassett, did business with Cassidy, supplying him with fresh horses and beef. That same year, Cassidy was arrested at Londa, Wyoming, for stealing horses. He was sentenced to 2 years in Wyoming State Prison in Laramie, but he was released after 18 months. So, upon his release in 1896, he would resume his life as a criminal with several other known outlaws, including his best friend, William Ellsworth Elsie Lay, Harry Sundance Kid Longbaugh, Ben Tall Texas Kilpatrick, and Harvey Kid Curry Logan. So, side note, we will be talking about at least one of those. I'm not gonna say which one because I want to kind of leave the illusion for a surprise on that. But anyway, together they formed the nucleus of the group known as the Wild Bunch, where Cassidy embarked on what is considered the longest stretch of successful train in bank robberies in American history. Others in the group would include Harry Tracy, William News Carver, Lord Bolton, and George Flatnose Curry. I don't know why I kept wanting to say Fiat. So the group took its known name from the Doolin Dalton gang, also known as the Wild Bunch. So basically, in the West, we have the robbers and the ranchers who had a gang. In Chicago, we have possibly one of my favorite Valentine's Day. Also, the only Valentine's Day I know is Al Capone and his gang, which I do plan on doing an episode on Capone later. But I did also do an episode on the same Valentine's Day massacre. You can go check out on my channel. I don't have a problem. I promise. Anyway, the first robbery will begin August 13, 1896, when Cassidy Lay, Logan and a man named Bob Meeks robbed the bank in Montpelier, Idaho, escaping with approximately $7,000. Numerous robberies would follow in South Dakota, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, and Montana. Between the robberies and the men that hid in the Hole in the Walls Pass, located in Johnson County, Wyoming, where several outlaw gangs had hideouts shortly after the robbery, Cassidy recruited the Sundance Kid into the Wild Bunch. And hiking in Robert's Roost that will begin in early 1897 when Cassidy joined at Robert's Roost by Ann Bassett and Elsie Lay's girlfriend Maud Davis. The four hid out until early April, when Cassidy sent the women home so the men could plan their next robbery. On April 22nd, 1897, the pair ambushed a small group of men carrying the payroll of the Pleasant Grove Valley Coal Company in Castlegate, Utah, making it some $7,000 in gold before fleeing to Robert's Roost. The outlaw loot was never recovered, and many believed it was hidden by a gang somewhere near Robert's Roost. Located along the Outlaw Trail in southwest eastern Utah. Okay, I gotta find this Outlaw Trail if I ever make it to Utah. Anyway, June 28, 1897, six bandits, including Kid Curry, George Flatnose Curry, Sundance Kid, um, Tom Peep O'Day, Harvey Logan, and Walt Putney robbed a bank at Belle Forge, South Dakota. The robbery was not well planned, and the gang got away with only $97. Tom O'Day was caught hiding in a saloon privy, and he was later placed but acquitted, while Walt Putney was also captured, but the charges were dropped. So, June 2nd, 1899, the gang, including Cassidy, Sundance Kid, Logan, and Lay, robbed a Union Pacific Overland Flyer passenger train near Wilcox, Wyoming. They were masks they made from white napkins stolen from the Harvey House restaurant. The holdups, which yielded between 30,000 and 50,000, made the gang nationally famous and resulted in a massive manhunt. The New York Herald stated that they were lawless men who lived long in the crags and became like eagles. Their witnesses reported six masked men. The additional two men may have been George Curry, Lonnie Logan, or Bob Lee. The gang was split afterwards. A common ploy to throw off pursuers and fled to New Mexico. Many notable lawmen of the day took part in the hunt for the outlaws, but they were not found. Kid Curry, George Curry, shot himself, killed Sheriff Joe Hazen during a shootout, and lawmen of the train robbery, Tom Horn, a killer for hire, employed a Pinkerton agency, obtained information about the Hazen shooting, and then passed this information to Pinkerton detective Charlie Swingo, who assigned the task of capturing the outlaws. So Swingo became friends with Elfie Landusky, um, who was using the last name Curry after allegedly becoming pregnant by Kid Curry's brother Lonnie. Though, through her, Swingo intended to locate the gang. So on July 18, 1899, some gang members robbed a Colorado and Southern Mail Rail train near Folsom, New Mexico without Cassidy's presence. After camping at the head of Dry Canyon northeast, Sam Ketchum, Bill Carver, and Elsie Lane made off with about $50,000. A posse soon pursued them to a hideout near Cimarron. I think I pronounced Cimarron If I'm butchering that up, I apologize. I am terrible with names. Just a heads up. But anyway, they would hide out near Cimarron, New Mexico. The outlaws were better armed with high-powered rifles and smokeless powder, while the posse had conventional black powder guns that would focus away. However, Ketchum and Lay were wounded in the gun battle and captured. The posse fared even worse, with two members, including Sheriff Edward Farr, who was Edward Farr killed and another posse man injured. Sam was taken into custody, but developed gangrene from his wound. So, July 24th, 1899, he would develop, he would die in Santa Fe Penitentiary and was buried in the Oddfellows Cemetery on August 16th. Elza Lay was arrested and he was later tried and convicted for the murder of Ed Farr and sentenced to life in prison. Carver escaped riding with the Wild Bunch. Sorry about that, I had to take a break for a minute and get some water. But anyway, with each new robbery, the bunch became better known like an American public eager to read about their exploits. Unable to stop the bunch, the Union Pacific Railroad went so far as to propose a pardon to Cassidy to promise the ending of his robberies and coming to work for their company as an express guard. Cassidy, of course, would turn down the offer. So, in February 28, 1900, well, oh, not in, I don't know why I said that, but lawmen attempted to arrest Kid Curry for Lonnie at his aunt's home. Lonnie was killed at the shootout, and his cousin, Bob Lee, was arrested for wrestling and sent to prison. On March 28, Kid Curry and News Carver pursued the posse at St. John's, Arizona, after being identified, passing currency from Wilcox, Wyoming train robbery. The posse engaged in a shootout in which Deputy Andrew Gibbons and Deputy Frank LaSure was killed, with Carver and Curry escaping. On April 17th, Curry was killed in a shootout with the Grand County, Utah. Sheriff John Tyler and Deputy Sam Jenkins as well. On May 26, Kid Curry rode into Moab, Utah, and killed Tyler and Jenkins in another shootout that would, don't know what happened there. Alright. Yes, in retaliation for the deaths of George and Lonnie. So August 29th, 1990, Cassidy Longabaugh and others robbed a Union Pacific train, number 3, near Tipton, Wyoming, of about $55,000. The five bandits included Butch and probably a Sundance of Harvey Logan. The suspected were Ben Kilpatrick, Will Carver, Kid Curry, Tom Welch, and Billy Rose. Tipton was the first crime in which Butch and Sundance generally agreed to have teamed up. Less than a month later, on September 19, 1990, three or four bandits stuck together in the First National Bank of Winnemucca. I want to say Winnemucca. Yeah, Winnemucca, Nevada, stealing $32,640. Sundance, Carver, and Logan were thought to have participated at various times. With George Nixon agreed and disagreed with Butch was present. A few years later, a newspaper recounted a conversation in which Sundance supposedly disclosed that he, Butch, and Carver were responsible. So the Wild Bunch, aka the Hole in the Wall Gang from 1896 to 1901, was led by Cassidy. Whew. The Wild Bunch terrorized the states of Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, and Nevada for 5 years. In 1990, Cassidy posed alongside Longabaugh, Logan, Harvey, Will Carver, Ben Kilpatrick, and Fort Worth, Texas, for the now famous Fort Worth 5 photograph. The Pinkerton detective obtained a copy of this photograph and used it for wanted posters. Carver and Kilpatrick remained in Texas, and on April 1st, 1901, Carver was ambushed by Sheriff Elijah Bryant and deputies at Sonora. William was shot by Bryant and died from his wounds 3 hours later. On July 3rd, 1901, Kid Curry and a group of the men robbed a Great Northern train near Wagner, Montana. This group took This time they took $60,000 in cash, which would be equivalent to one point $100,730 today. And on November 8, 1901, Ben Kilpatrick and his girlfriend Laura Bullion were captured in St. Louis, Missouri. Kilpatrick was found guilty of robbery and sentenced to 15 years, while Laura was sentenced to 5. After 3.5, Laura was released from the Missouri State Penitentiary, but she would never see her lover again. Harvey and uh, Harvey Logan and Annie Rogers sometimes between 1890 and 1894. So Logan headed to Tennessee, where in October his girlfriend Annie Rogers had been arrested in Nashville for passing notes from the Montana robbery. I'm only 30 minutes from Nashville. I have to go see if I can find something resembling this now. Anyway, um, for passing notes from Montana robbery. On December 13, 1901, Harvey Logan killed two Knoxville policemen, William Dinwiddie and Robert Saylor, when they tried to apprehend him. Harvey's girlfriend, Annie Rogers, was spent time in jail and was acquitted on June 18, 1902. In a pool hall on November 30th, 1902, Logan was captured after a lengthy physical fight with lawmen when he was convicted of robbery because of the facts of murder of two policemen were not definite, and no witnesses would testify that he would receive a sentence of 20 years of hard labor and $5,000 fine on June 27, 1903. Logan escaped, and rumors that a deputy had received $8,000 bribe to allow his escape spread, but this was never proven. A year later, he participated in robbing the Denver and Rio Grande train near Parachute, Colorado on June 7, 1904. 2 days later, a posse caught up with the outlaws. In the confrontation, Logan was wounded. However, rather than go to prison, he took his own life. He was only 37 when he died on June 9, 1904. In the meantime, with the gang breaking from feeling continuous pressure from numerous outlaws enforcement agencies pursuing them, Butch Cassidy and Harry Longabaugh fled to New York City on February 20th, 1901, along with Etta Place, Longabaugh's female companion, and then they departed to Buenos Aires, Argentina, aboard the British steamer Harmless. Cassidy posed as James Ryan, Place's fictitious brother, but after the arrival, they settled in a 4-room log cabin on a $15,000 acre that they purchased on the east bank at the Rio Blanco near Cholula. I'm sorry if I butchered that up again. I really am. just east of the Andes and in Argentina in the province of Chubut. So, February 14th, 1905, two English speaking bandits who may have been Cassidy and Longbaugh held up Blancos, held up Buncos, uh, held up the Banco de Tap, Tarapaca, Argentino, and double L is silent, in Rio Gallegos 700 miles from Toledo. They then escaped to north across the Patagonian slopes, and on May 1st, fearing that the law enforcement had located them, the trio said that the Triolado Ranch traveled north of San Carlos de Bariloche, where they embarked in a steamer Condor across the Nilo Huapi Lake into Chile. So by the end of the year, however, they had returned to Argentina. On December 19, 1905, Cassidy, Longabar, and Place were known, and an unknown male associate robbed the Banco de la Nacion branch in Villa Mercedes, 400 miles south of Buenos Aires, taking about $12,000, 12,000 pesos. Pursued armed lawmen came across them in Pampas in the Andes and reached for safety of Chile. On June 30th, 1906, Place decided that she had had enough of this life and ran, and was escorted back to San Francisco, California by Longabar under the alias Santiago Maxwell. Cassidy obtained work in Concordia tin mine in the Santa Vera Cruz in central Bolivian Andes, where Longabar joined him after his return. Their primary duties included guarding the company's payroll. Still wanting to settle down as a respectable rancher in the late 1907, Cassidy would travel with Longabar to Santa Cruz, a frontier town in Bolivia's eastern savannah, and the facts surrounding Butch Cassidy's death are uncertain. But November 3rd, 1908, near San Vincent and southern Bolivia, a courier for the Amameo, Frank and C.S. Silver mine was conveying the company's payroll worth about 15,000 Bolivia pesos by Muriel when he was attacked and robbed by two American bandits believed to be Cassidy and Longabar. Longabaugh. The bandits then proceeded to a small mining town in San Vincent, where they lodged in a small boarding house owned by a resident named Bonifacio Solo. I promised I'd practice these, but I am terrible with names, like I said. So, Butch Cassidy's wanted poster. Casuelo became suspicious of the two foreign lodgers. They had a mule from Amarillo mine identifiable from the mine company that brand and that mule left. Casuelo left the house and notified the nearby telegraph officer of the Bolivian Army Cavalry in the unit stationed nearby. The Aborolo Regiment, so the unit would dispatch 3 soldiers under the command of Captain Gesto Concha to San Vincent where they notified local authorities. On the evening of November 6th, the lodging house was surrounded by soldiers, the police chief, the local mayor, and some of the officials that were attended to arrest of the Arameo robbers. With the soldiers approaching the house, the bandits opened fire, killing one of the soldiers and wounding another. A gunfight then ensued at around 2 a.m. During a full-on firing, the police and soldiers heard a man screaming from inside the house. Soon, a single shot was fired, and after some screaming stopped, minutes later, another shot was fired. The standoff would continue to locals at the place surrounded until the next morning, when, cautiously entered, the authorities found two dead bodies, numerous bullets, wounds in the arm and leg of one of the men had a bullet wound in the forehead, and the other a bullet wound in the temple. The local police department speculated by judging from the positions of the bodies, one bandit had been shot by his fatally wounded partner to put him out of his misery before killing himself with the final bullet. In the subsequent investigation by the Tapiza police, the bandits were identified as the men who robbed the Arameo payroll transport. Still, the Bolivian authorities didn't know their names, and they could not even positively identify them. So, the bodies were buried in a small San Vincenzo cemetery, where they were buried close to the grave of a German miner named Gustav Zimmer. Gustav. I just like saying that word, Gustav. Anyway, although attempts have been made to find the unmarked graves, no remains with DNA matching and living relatives of Cassidy of Longabar have yet to be discovered. Through the years, there has been claims that the pair killed in Bolivia were not Cassidy and Longabar. One story alleged that Josie Bassett claimed that Cassidy had come to visit her in the 1920s after returning from South America and didn't die until 1940. Another claims that he he was made by a doctor named Francis Smith, who claimed that he had been treated Cassidy and told him that a surgeon in Paris had altered his face and that he showed up in a repaired bullet from Smith recognized by that he had previously done. Locals of Cassidy of the Circleville, Utah claimed that he had worked in Nevada until his death. So notably, Cassidy's sister, Lula Park Bettenson, stated that her brother had returned to the family in Circleville. In another town, Baggs, Wyoming, a popular destination of the Wild Bunch during the raiding years, claimed that Cassidy had visited during the 1920s. Cassidy's sister did report that Butch did live over the years in the Northwest and died in 1937, and the family had agreed not to disclose the final resting place since they had chased him all his life, and now he's going to rest in peace. Despite his criminal background, by all accounts, Cassidy was a charming, well-liked thief who never, it is believed, killed anyone. Cassidy also had a reputation for keeping his word. As one story goes, he asked to be released the night before he began his sentence, promised that he would return to the jail the following day. Authorities took him at his word, let him go, and Cassidy returned the following morning. Parker's life and death have been extensively dramatized for film, television, and literature, and he remains one of the most well-known icons of the Wild West. What do y'all think? Let's save that. What do y'all think? I mean, he is an iconic criminal of the Wild West. Um, to promote season 2, I have a shirt on my merch shop that you can go check out. It is in reference to this season. I have purposely designed it that way. But you can go check that out on Bonfire on True Crime Lounge. Um, and you will see the season 2. Help a girl out. That is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time, and I can't remember who I'm doing next. I gotta go back and look at the sheet. But yeah, so thank y'all for listening, tuning in. Remember, you can go check out. You can also remember I have a merch shop. You can find me on social media as well. I also have a YouTube channel that you can go out and check out for more cases, and you can go back and if you haven't seen any of these episodes, or listened to any of these episodes, you can go back and watch those as well. Um, but that's it for this season. This season for the first episode of this season. I will see y'all next time.